Any change in the DNA sequence of a cell is known as variants. Variants may be caused by mistakes during cell division, or they may be caused by exposure to DNA-damaging agents in the environment. Scientists monitor all variants, but maybe classify certain ones as variants being monitored, variants of interest, variants of concern, and variants of high consequence. Some variants spread more easily and quickly than other variants, which may lead to more cases of COVID-19. In this video, we're going to discuss what does the variant of a disease mean. The video is going to be amazing, so make sure you stick to the end. Before starting the video, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to never miss out on any of our videos. When viruses spread, they make copies of themselves. As they do, they often mutate or change a little bit. A copy that is different from the original virus is called a variant. Sometimes variants don't seem that different from the original virus. Others may have clear differences. Variants can be harmful, beneficial, or have no effect. If they occur in cells that make eggs or sperm, they can be inherited. If variants occur in other types of cells, they're not inherited. Certain variants may lead to cancer or other diseases. A very small percentage of all variants actually have a positive effect. These variants lead to new versions of proteins that help an individual better adapt to changes in his or her environment. For example, a beneficial variant could result in a protein that protects an individual and future generations from a new strain of bacteria. Because a person's genetic code can have many variants with no effect on health, diagnosing genetic disorders can be difficult. Most adults with genetic variants tied to certain conditions, such as heart disease or cancer, go undiagnosed, according to a study of more than 50,000 people. The variant's silence leaves these people unaware of their risk of developing the conditions later in life, says lead investigator David Carey, director of the Wise Center for Research at Geisinger Health System in Danville, Pennsylvania. Carey's team looked for genetic variants associated with 27 chronic conditions. The list of conditions doesn't include autism, but does include tuberous sclerosis complex. As many as half of all people with tuberous sclerosis complex have autism. Other teams are studying the same population to gauge the effects of variants linked to autism. The value lies in the huge population, all captured within the same healthcare system. It's really fantastic, says Dan Arking, Associate Professor of Genetic Medicine at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland, who was not involved in the New York. Mutations are random changes in the DNA of the virus that can alter its shape and the way it behaves. When a virus infects a human cell, its main job is to replicate and then spread. The virus instructs the infected cell to start making more copies of itself that then go on to infect other cells and are eventually coughed, sneezed, or breathed out, enabling them to infect other people. Replication of the virus occurs at a relatively quick rate, however, which means errors can occur. Most of these errors are either harmful to the virus or have no effect, but as time goes on, the chances of an advantageous error, one that might make the original virus more powerful or infectious, occurring increases. As long as there are enough unvaccinated people in a population to infect, SARS-CoV-2 will continue to adapt, Harrod says, with that adaptation driven by many factors. As this is likely a bad virus, it's still adapting to humans, he said, but immunity, either driven by high levels of infection in the population or driven by vaccines, are also drivers. We have a long way to go before we reach herd immunity, and thus we won't see this virus stop mutating until at least then. All viruses do this, so there's nothing unusually nefarious about SARS-CoV-2, Harrod points out. It just sounds crazy. When viruses jump to humans, it would be very rare for them to be perfect, said Professor Wendy Barclay, a virologist from Imperial College London. They settle in, and then they have a great time. There are examples of viruses, she said, from flu pandemics to Ebola outbreaks, making the jump and then accelerating. So how far can it go? The cleanest way of comparing the pure biological spreading power of viruses is to look at their R0, pronounced R0. It's the average number of people each infected person passes a virus onto if nobody were immune, and nobody took extra precautions to avoid getting infected. That number was around 2.5 when the pandemic started in Wuhan and could be as high as 8 for the Delta variant, according to disease modelers at Imperial. Bollinger says that some of these mutations may enable the coronavirus to spread faster from person to person, and more infections can result in more people getting very sick or dying. Therefore, it's very important for us to expand the number of genetic sequencing studies to keep track of these variants, he says. Bollinger explains that it may be more advantageous for a respiratory virus to evolve so that it spreads more easily. If we get too sick or die quickly from a particular virus, the virus has less opportunity to infect others. However, as we've seen with Delta, more infections from a faster spreading variant will lead to more hospitalizations and deaths, he notes. Evaluation needs to be done for each variant. Just because a gene is associated with a disease doesn't mean that all variants in that gene are pathogenic. Additionally, evaluation of a variant needs to be done for all diseases with which it's thought to be associated. It's important to re-evaluate variants periodically. The classification of a variant can change over time as more information about the effects of variants becomes known through additional scientific research. Paul Gupfert, MD, professor in the UAB Division of Infectious Diseases and director of the Alabama Vaccine Research Clinic, says the leading hypothesis for the infectious power of the Delta variant is that it has changed the composition of the virus's spike protein in a way that it allows to enter cells more efficiently. This mutation allows the spike protein to better attach to the cells that line the respiratory tract, including the throat, nasal passages, and lungs, says Gopford. Gopford emphasizes that current evidence suggests that mRNA vaccines are up to 90% effective against severe infection with COVID-19 variants and reminds people that the other coronavirus strains developed when there was little to no vaccine around. Some 37% of eligible Alabamians are fully vaccinated as of August 25, 2021, but the rest are not, Gopford said. So we have a virus that sees an immune system that it wants to get around. If COVID has taught us anything, I suspect this virus is going to learn to mutate into a new variant to get around the vaccine-induced immune response. The best way to never see this new variant is to stop it from developing in the first place. The way to do that is by getting vaccinated. Bollinger says that as of now, none of the new coronavirus variants call for any new prevention strategies. We need to continue doing the basic precautions that we know work to interrupt the spread of the virus, he says. Ray concurs, there's no demonstration yet that these variants are biologically different in ways that would require any change in current recommendations meant to limit the spread of COVID-19, he says. Nonetheless, we must continue to be vigilant for such phenomena. For now, the greater infectiousness we're seeing means we must redouble our efforts using the preventative tools that we have in a multi-layered approach. Ray stresses that both vaccination and human behavior are important. It's striking to note that the majority of COVID-19 deaths are now occurring in unvaccinated people, even when most adults in the USA have been vaccinated, he says. The more people who are unvaccinated and infected, the more chances there are for mutations to occur. Limiting the spread of the virus through maintaining COVID-19 safeguards, such as mask wearing, physical distancing, practicing hand hygiene, and getting vaccinated, gives the virus fewer chances to change. It also reduces the spread of more infectious variants if they do occur. Vaccines are the medical miracle of 2020, but we need to re-emphasize basic public health measures, including masking, physical distancing, good ventilation indoors, and limiting gatherings of people in close proximity with poor ventilation. We give the virus an advantage to evolve when we congregate in more confined spaces, he says. Let us know your opinion in the comment section below. This was all for today. Hope you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Stay safe, and we'll be back soon with another video for you guys. And remember guys, all the COVID-19 precautionary measures, such as mask wearing, hand hygiene, and physical distancing. It may be hard, but it's necessary. Until then, see you next time.